You know, I don't really look back on my childhood as anything earth-shatteringly different than anyone else I grew up with. The significant stuff would come later, you know, but I suppose it has in some way shaped me musically, but it's not something I ever tend to think about too much. Try not to think about it anyway. I was born in '67, I grew up in the early 70s in Longsight in Manchester. Irish working class, bit of an ethnic melting pot. Normal working class upbringing, really. They knocked our houses down to build this newfangled supermarket called Asda. We were moved to a place called Burnage, which was in the south of Manchester. All my family are Irish, so my dad was a DJ in the Irish social clubs, so a lot of country and western and Irish folk music. The first record I ever had was by Leo Sayer, and he was dressed as a clown doing it on Top of the Pops, and I think it was on Rack Records. But yeah, it was Top of the Pops, you know, that great much missed institution, Top of the Pops, which shaped everybody's attitude of my age group anyway. Yeah, so it was kind of mid-70s, and then punk would come along after that and change everything. I was just a bit too young for punk rock, and then it kind of came to prominence in the mainstream around about 77, 78. And it was over by 79. So I was only 10, but I vividly remember walking down Burnage Lane and seeing a guy with peroxide white hair, skinhead, and a big black exclamation mark dyed onto the back of his head, which in 1978 or whenever it was, 70, 77, 78, was kind of like, fucking hell, what's that? Then by the time I'd heard of the Sex Pistols, I think it was already over. You know, the first band I ever thought that was kind of belongs to me were the Smiths. But in between the Pistols and the Smiths were the Jam that meant everything to everyone. You know, seeing Weller and the Jam on the Old Grey Whistle Test is something that stayed with me forever. Back in those days, music was the single most important thing in a young lad's life. There was no football on the telly. You know, there was none of the choice of mind-numbing shit that kids have now. So it's literally Top of the Pops and the radio, you know, and the FA Cup final. You know, bands meant something back then. You know, guitars and stuff like that. You know, they meant everything. Well, I don't think I ever decided to pick up a guitar. I remember doing music at school, and I don't think I ever had a guitar, and I don't think I was ever interested in it. At some point, my old fella bought an acoustic guitar. Don't know what make it was, but it was like it could have been a Gibson. I don't know. It looked, in my mind's eye, it's kind of a hummingbird, right? And it's always been a source of mystery because he couldn't play it, but it was behind the living room door. Now, I used to get in trouble a lot as a kid growing up for not going to school and smoking and petty crime. I used to always get grounded. I just remember taking the guitar upstairs once and playing along to Joy Division records because they had such prominent bass lines. Although I didn't know anything about what was a bass line or anything. I just started copying them on the guitar, and then it kind of passed away the hours of just kind of staying when everyone else was going out. Then the guitar ended up in my bedroom. So it became my guitar, and I was just like noodling around on it, you know. And then one day, one of the older lads from the estate knew a guy, and he came around and he tuned it up, which set me back about 10 years, because I was like, I didn't know anything about it at all, because there wasn't the internet or anything like that. Obviously, it started to become like a means to pass the time away, you know. I remember the first song I learnt was House of the Rising Sun. This guy taught me the 5 chords, whatever it is, A minor, C, whatever the chords are. Yeah, practiced that for a long time, you know, and slowly, you know, was playing along to records that I was buying. After playing my old fella's guitar, or the guitar, my mum bought me one from the catalogue, and it was a black K hummingbird, right? I think it was made of concrete. I can still picture that guitar, and I can still remember the absolute fucking horror and, you know, the disaster when you broke a string because you had to go and buy another set of strings when you didn't have any money. I realised that I'm actually not very good at playing the guitar. So one of my first thoughts was, I'm not very good at playing other people's songs. So quite early on, it was like, I started to do my own thing, really. I wouldn't call it songwriting. I started to do my own thing. All of it sounded like House of the Rising Sun, with therefore was in a different order. And if I was thinking about this today, I was thinking, well, it was quite an early thought. It's like, I'm not interested in other people's songs because I'm not that good at it. I haven't got the patience. I'll do my own. That'd be easier. So it was quite an early decision to, you know, set off on my own path, really.
Your time is running out, and if you're down, I'll take it out. Ever.
If I had thought I was good at songwriting at any point before I joined Oasis, I'd have done it a long time ago. I was a late starter in that sense. To me, playing the guitar was a hobby, and it was just something that I did when I got stoned at home and just, you know, learning chords off the tunes I was listening to. I never really had any great ambitions that this is my thing and this is what I'm going to do with it. And I guess the first time I thought, wow, this is what I've written is great, as when I wrote Live Forever. And I'd written a bit of Definitely Maybe before that, like Bring It On Down and Columbia. But anyway, it's like writing Live Forever. I remember playing it, or writing it, and then singing it to myself over and over and over again, and thinking, fucking hell, this is fucking great. So it would have been like 93, mid 93, where I thought I was getting good at it. And I'm still learning. You know, I've never been given a lesson about anything musical in my life, so I'm still learning things on the guitar, still learning chords by accident, or if you even call them chords. And so it's been a life's worth of fascination for me, the guitar. My first guitar hero was Steve Jones from the Sex Pistols. Still one of my favourite ever guitarists. Steve Jones was the first, and then Johnny Marr was the one that was like, fucking hell, what is he doing? You know what I mean? Still can't tell you. Weller, he wouldn't be your standard guitar hero because he was the main man and the songwriter. So we'd fall into the category of songwriters. And there's been loads ever since, you know, and then you kind of go back and further back. And I'm kind of more drawn to guitar players who compose other than, I mean, I suppose all guitar players do, but like Neil Young for me, and I'm more into the writers than the players, if you know what I mean.